All right, let's get to the main event. And so, yeah, we're going to be talking about the sham medical organization and their feeding the trans panic. We've got the friendly atheist, Hemant Mehta, to guide us through it.
Late last week, a handful of doctors associated with the American College of Pediatricians, remember that, they issued a statement urging healthcare professionals to stop offering gender-affirming care to minors.
Can y'all tell I was excited to have Ember and Steph? So look at this, y'all. This is their site as it looks today. If we just pull it up, and he's right. So first off, there again, the American College of Pediatricians, right? Not to be confused with the American Academy of Pediatricians, right?
The founder of this organization split off from the American Academy and used a very similar name, College versus Academy, on purpose to misdirect people because he was big mad about the Academy's position on allowing gay couples to adopt. The American College of Pediatricians, they aren't just anti-trans. They're anti-gay, they're anti-abortion. They want to send us right back to 1952.
There it is. Ember bringing us the goods. All right, y'all. So that's their site. And you can see as you scroll, all right, so this is the landing, right? And then as you scroll down to sort of beneath the fold, you know, you get, it's a typical kind of website design. But look how close it is to a few things. So here we have the CDC's website, right? So it's got almost that government type of like big medical body look to it. This is the CDC's. Here is the NIH's website, right? And then here is again the actual AAP site, so the organization they're most directly emulating. Okay, so you can look at the AAP site and then hop back to theirs. Okay, so it's definitely, they definitely have the right aesthetic. I hate to say it, but part of it is they faked their vibe, right? And that's a part of the problem too. Like I don't know,
yeah, and that's exactly the point. That's why they did it, is for misinformation purposes, which we saw after the statement that Hemet's going to get to in a little bit. It was reported on Fox News. It was reported on all over the internet. Elon Musk picked it up. YouTubers, all the right-wing grift fuckers, all of these people, they reported the American College of Pediatrics as if it were the American Academy of Pediatrics. They didn't bother to note the distinction. They didn't bother to notice the huge difference in membership. American College of Pediatrics has something like 700 members, only 200 of which are physicians. Compare that to 67,000 physicians in the American Academy of Pediatrics.
I think he's into that. So yeah,
no contest here.
No contest here. But yeah, I'm glad.
As long as they never mention it, people think the one is the other. And when it's presented that way, they're using one misinformation to cover another misinformation and trick the
100%.
people who don't Google things into thinking it's fact.
But what do you think that connection is with, say, that same thing we saw with Trump's team when it came to handling the virus? Like, I know they're using the same playbook, but now I'm suspicious how much they might even be the same people.
Well, they are very much the same people in a lot of cases. A lot of the people that are behind the monies, but the same money is behind these people, and in some cases the same people are
behind the people.
They're not behind the people, right? Absolutely, there.
People,
So it's kind of a weird thing,
Somebody should do that cross reference, right? And that's the way to figure
actually,
it out.
somebody did.
It has been done. Yeah. It has
been done. Really?
Yeah, I think it was the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm seeing if I can find the link right now, but there's a whole interconnected web of all these mofos. TLDR, there's a bunch of different funding sources, and there's a bunch of different organizations, and they all interconnect. They all share the same people, And ultimately, it goes back to the Heritage Foundation and their sponsors, the billionaires that are trying to keep the public divided so people don't realize. It really sounds like a conspiracy theory, but if you follow the people involved with each group, they're the same people on the same payroll.
Americans defending families is huge.
We should say this. So, it sounds like a conspiracy theory until you realize it's the business model.
This is a Southern Poverty Law Center. They went and put together, you can click on any association in here and it'll show you which ones are connected to them, which way they're sharing personnel, and so on and so forth. Here we see GenSpect, which is a recently classified hate group, and the Public and Adolescent Gender Dysphoria Working Group, which is the super group that's coordinating all this nonsense. And right down here, the American College of Pediatricians. And they fund Do No Harm. They receive funding from the Kelsey Coalition.
You look the part and you sound like you know what you're talking about. There's a lot of people who will believe anything you say. I'm going to show you a clip of this press conference.
And we have serious concerns about the physical and mental health effects of the current protocols promoted for the care of children and adolescents in the United States who express discomfort with their biological sex, and immediately stop the promotion of social affirmation, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries for children and adolescents who experience distress over their biological sex.
It's worth noting that, as we saw in Ohio blatantly, but in other states a bit more subtly, the instant they do get transgender care banned for youth, they immediately come for adults too. It never stops with the kids.
My blood is boiling and I'm literally like, these are people who have never felt the visceral response to hate, not feeling like it's safe. Like most people feel like, I can't just go around spewing genocidal rhetoric about others and expect nothing to happen, right? And these people literally just pull up to the microphone like, yeah, we think you should immediately stop caring for trans children, and yeah, don't let them do anything, and yeah, we're fine. All right, we ready for break for coffee? Like how, like that, the mishmash, the civility of the cruelty makes it so much worse to me.
We affirm that sex is a dimorphic, innate trait defined in relation to an organism's biological role in reproduction, male and female.
Yeah.
Medical decision
lying about
making should be based upon
lying.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
lying.
And how is it legal? How is it legal? What is the government doing if it's not protecting us from well-financed fascists who are lying to us while pretending to be medical doctors? I'm sorry, if the government can't stop this, I'm done. What fucking good are you?
In fairness, Jill Simmons is an actual working pediatrician.
That's even worse. That's probably the worst thing.
Yeah, she should lose her license for spreading harmful misinformation, but she is an actual pediatrician.
See, I was going to say that, and I didn't know how much people thought this was a hot take, but I think all these people should lose their licenses. All of them. This is a violation of the Hippocratic Oath. It's not medicine. Like I can't imagine a more unethical thing to do as a physician.
It's like you go in to see a doctor. You've got spleen cancer or something, and the doctor says, yeah, I know, I've read all the research about chemo and biopsies and all of this, but instead of that, I think the right thing is leeches, because my religion says so.
I was going to say the exact same thing, Ember.
I hate to say this, y'all, but we live in a world where people like this don't stop doing these things until they can't. You have to stop them. You can't ask them nicely. You can't tell them like, oh, they're upsetting people. Calling them names is a step in the right direction. That's certainly better than, sending them flowers. But ultimately, there has to be consequences.
That's actually kind of the hard part, because remember, these organizations have funding coming from the Heritage Foundation, from ZICLAC, from all these gigantic billionaire-funded organizations. And if she did lose her license, then she'd just go the Jordan Peterson route and be like, I was canceled for telling the truth.
These people that just keep weaponizing the word biological, respect the biology, the biological, and then they lie about the biology. It's something we can't tolerate as biologists, the same way the psychologists and the psychiatrists can't tolerate it, the same way the pediatricians can't tolerate it. We have to recognize the moment that we're in now. We have to hear the way our field is being used in the public discourse and make a very clear stand about it. So, yeah, that just wanted, I know they're still going to probably say biology 1,000 more times, but I just wanted to get that in there.
Oh yeah, it's a substitute word. It's basically a dog whistle.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
They don't want to say cis, they don't want to say assigned at birth, so they substitute biological, as if Steph and I aren't biological.
Yes, honestly, it's a slur. That's what you have to realize. They might be saying your field, but it's actually a slur. They're saying they're trying to say these people are not natural. There's what's natural, and they're using biology as coded for natural. And then anything that's obviously not that is therefore unnatural. And there's just no such thing as a not natural human beings. Remember that that's what they're doing when they say that. They are completely dehumanizing a population of people, completely dehumanizing them.
That those of us who are concerned are a minority, and that their protocols are consensus. They are not consensus, and we are speaking in a loud, unified voice. Enough.
Loud, unified voice.
Loud,
yes,
200 physicians.
Here's another thing that's so interesting. You hear this even in the churches that have split over these issues, right? But these people make it their whole personality, and it hurts them. Sulami was talking about this earlier in Gather, was how it probably hurts them in every area of their life. And this is a similar thing here, where they've gone out and started some whole whack job organization, got themselves all a mess involved in public policy, and this will be what they're remembered for. Hopefully, it's the downfall of their professional career, but it does show you how hatred takes over a person's life.
What the hell is she talking about? None of that is accurate. But here's the thing. They look the part. She had her doctor uniform. I'm not denying she's a doctor, but like, she's playing the part. She's looking the part. Notice you have no idea who's in the audience there, because they don't need it, because they're just trying to put on a show for you. And if they do that, they can trick dumb people into thinking they have a point. And it worked, because
and that's what the fucking moles do, right? We're scientists, and we're here to tell you the evidence supports creationism. What? Huh? What? Who let the weirdos in again? Y'all let the weirdos in again. But yeah, this is what I mean. It's the same thing. And this is what I mean about the copy pasta. It's a deep script that they have of making these counterfeit institutions.
Spreading this stuff. Well, you had Elon Musk, who responded with, wow. Notice what he's retweeting there. The American College of Pediatricians just put out this fire statement.
And it's funny. We point and laugh.
They keep referring to this statement as the ACP called a news conference, but I noticed none of the footage has any news network logo in the corner. So who came to because Hemant mentioned we don't see who's in the audience. So I'm trying to find which news organizations came. Well, nobody came, because it wasn't actually a press conference, because these fuckers are completely incompetent. They can do the surface level fakes. They can copy the style, but not the substance of real organizations. And as I was tootling around looking at these things, I came across they are more incompetent than I could ever have possibly dreamed. In 2022, I think, 2023, May 2nd, 2023, they left a Google Drive public on their website. Journalists, including Wired.com, found 10,000 confidential files from the anti-trans doctor group. And it's got all kinds of stuff, where their members are, at least as of the date of when these files were found, where they went to school, what their positions are. It's got plans in there for releasing children's books that throughout the course of the book, coloring books and shit for little kids that indoctrinate them into the idea of purity culture.
Shit.
Like all kinds of shit. And it's just, it's just out there. Yeah, there's case files on a 10-year-old child who became pregnant due to an illegal thing that we can't talk about on YouTube.
Yes.
And they're using this child's forced pregnancy as like a virtue thing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And of course, none of this should really surprise us, because we know that this is all tied to a whole right-wing agenda, right? It's not like these people exist in a vacuum.
Even if they don't admit it freely, all of it ultimately boils down to Project 2025. Even if that fails, that's the goal.
That's the goal.
To overthrow the government and replace it with a theocratic state. And again, that sounds like a conspiracy theory, except these incompetent motherfuckers left the receipts lying all over the place. In a way, as the chat has noticed, it's kind of a good thing that these people suck at their jobs, because if they were even just a little bit more subtle, it would go right past most people.
That's right. And that's what scares me, is that they'll mature in figuring that out.
There was an organization called the Catholic News Agencies. This was their headline. Doctors urge U.S. medical groups to immediately stop trans treatments on children. But the one I really wanted to show you, guess who fell for this as well? Look at this. Look at this. The guy who publishes Skeptic magazine, who fell for this hook, line, and sinker. Here is the full statement.
You didn't know that Michael Shermer's a raging fucking transphobe?
I think maybe, I don't know. I don't think I did.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
He's atheist for liberty. He's been hanging out there. He's been hanging out with Boghossian. He's so woohoo, let's go right. That's where the money is.
Here's the thing you need to know about the American College of Pediatricians. This is not a legitimate organization representing the field of pediatrics. Do you know how there's a group called 1 Million Moms that's like, there's a commercial with gay people. It's going to hurt our children. And the thing is, they don't have 1 million members. It's like one mom who just pretends like she's speaking on behalf of all moms. That's what the American College of Pediatricians is.
This is where consensus comes in, because you will have crazy people who are willing to jeopardize their entire professional credibility on some bullshit, and you have to understand where the weight of expertise lies and why.
And if anything, they were at the very least trying to piggyback on the credibility of the legitimate AAP.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I really think. It's the religion. I think organizations like this and the shit like this, you and I could not get away with doing this. We could not get away with stealing another professional organization's branding, pretending to be them, especially not with what is your intent, y'all. Intent matters. Your intent is to do harm to a protected class of citizens. This is really the type of thing you only get away with when you are on the far right and you are 1 to 3 degrees of separation from hiding behind a religious shield.
Yeah, that's exactly it. People are like, how is this even possible? Because this is clearly an intent to defraud motivated by financial gain. It's literal crimes. How does this happen? But their benefactors are the same people who have half of Congress in their pockets.
Let's say we're talking about vaccine mandates. Well, a reporter is going to say, what is the American Academy of Pediatrics, the legit group, what do they have to say about vaccines? Dumb reporters will be like, you know what I need? I need the opposing viewpoint because both sides matter, which is the dumbest possible thing to do, because why would you go to a group of like automatic contrarians who don't care about science because they care about ideology?
Yeah, now see, that's where there's no neutrality too, like in the way people cover this. I mean, if you're a newspaper or something like that, that's gonna traffic in the both sidesism of this, then you're contributing to that harm as well.
Yeah, I know specifically the article he's talking about too. It was published by Fox News originally. Of course it was. The day after this fake press conference. And they went to great lengths to both sides it. And the only indication that the American College of Pediatricians isn't the same as the real Pediatricians Association is they list off the groups that the American College of Pediatricians singles out as promoting this harmful fact-based life-saving medicine.
Yeah.
The American Academy of Pediatrics is specifically listed along with WPATH and the American Psychological Association and all the major medical organizations. There's no mention that ACP exists to impersonate AAP. It's not mentioned.
And I'd argue that's unethical journalism.
I want to give you one more example of why this sham group. Here's our year-end report. And I want to show you this one thing. Look at this. We protect children from the harms of transgender ideology. But look at this in the upper right here. Our presence in the news media and social media has expanded exponentially. This is how they're measuring success.
They have
by the way, I have more.
And it's
It's
so pathetic. It's so sad.
Yeah, this is the metric these guys are going for. They're not going for a metric of better outcomes in healthcare. They're not going for a metric of lives improved. They're going for a metric of the people whose hatred and bigotry they're able to reinforce through their own, spreading their own.
You would think they would measure like how many kids' lives have we saved? How many doctors, how many scientific journals have we been published in? That's how like legit groups might rate their success. These guys are like, look how many Facebook likes we got. Elon tweeted us or retweeted us, so we're going to count that as a win. Now give us money so we can lie to people.
They actually have a policy. This was in the leaked documents too. They have a policy that was voted unanimously by their board of directors, including Dr. Jill, who's been doing the talking here, that whenever one of their members has a paper rejected by a journal, they'll just publish it on their website.
Right.
All the papers on their website are
Really?
rejected papers.
Wow.
It's Answers Journal with less oversight, if you can believe it.
Oh my goodness.
Like all of that's to say no one should be paying any attention to what a conservative hate group that only cares about ideology, not science, not medicine, says about transgender people. The truth is that data from more than a dozen studies of more than 30,000 trans and gender diverse young people consistently show that access to gender-affirming care is associated with better mental health outcomes, and that the lack of access to such care is associated with higher rates of suicidality, depression, and self-harming behavior. Oh, but like 10 doctors wearing lab coats went and said, we're doing a press conference, and they said, all of those people are wrong.
In a way, it kind of makes the evangelicals' point. If you don't believe in morals, in ethics, or a meaning to life that's bigger than yourself, then you will sell yourself out to the first person to come at you with a paycheck. And that's exactly what we see.
Like listening to this fake medical group, that's like going to a Catholic priest to ask for sex advice. Why would you do that? They don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. Why are you trying to get advice?
Depends on what kind of sex advice.
But
let me give you a couple extra cliches, y'all. No justice, no peace. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We have to understand that this is taking something from all of us. This is robbing us of our humanity. It's robbing us of our identity as people who live in a humane society that believe that all people are deserving of equal rights. How can we say that and deny people medical care? And at some point, we have to look the TERFs in the face and say, you are inhumane, you are cruel, and what you are doing is trying to deny people their rights. There's nothing that justifies the cruel intention behind where these people are coming from. That part has to bother people, and it shouldn't matter who you are or how you identify. You should be able to look at another human person and recognize that they should have the same rights you do.
Dr. Jill. Yep, that's the lady in the lab coat. She's the executive director, by the way, of that fake group. This is an excellent point. Thank you for that.
Yes, that Katie Britt kitchen voice.
That's an intersex person is wild. I'm sorry, Moss Eater. I was told by Lady in Lab Coat that you don't exist. Sorry. Sorry. I'm just going to pretend you're not there. There's just two, and they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. And the doctor decides it when you're half a second old, and that's the end of the story. It doesn't get more complicated. I'm a scientist. If you get to college or you study biology later on, one of the things you learn is, well, that's overly simplified. That is so not how our genes interact and work. And yet when you ask them about gender, it's like, nope, it's binary. We're done with this now.
When you realize somebody's a genuinely racist, it's very difficult to comprehend because you're like, I don't understand. It's just like, it's like my skin's a different color than yours. It like doesn't make sense to have this much invested in it. And this is definitely just one of those things to me. I don't understand people who, even in their own lives, are willing to sacrifice their association with friends and families and fly in the face of all the scientific evidence. I mean, there's something deeply broken about a person this hateful.
Especially when it comes to medical issues, you know, outcomes are really the sine qua non, right? You know, that's what you know, is this successful or is this not? Conversion therapy is not successful. It leads to broken, damaged lives. It's really kind of shitty that this is what a lot of these folks are advocating for, because you're going to break a person so that you'll feel better not having to guess about what they've got in their trousers. Seems weird.
The way they're always projecting about delusions. You think you're something other than you are. No, we tried being something other than what we are. It didn't work. That's why we transitioned. They have that presupposition that they're right. And therefore you have to be beaten into submission with their presupposition, because otherwise they have to confront the fact that they've been operating under a delusion themselves. They have a break with reality themselves. And they can't handle that. So you must be wrong, and you will be punished for daring to question.
Tragic.
I really don't understand why people put so much effort into hating things they know little to nothing about. I don't know either, but it fuels the entire right-wing everything.
It is performative, and a lot of them think that this is just how they're supposed to be.
Yeah, whether it's sucking some rich dude or powerful politician's dick to get ahead or get clout or get special favors, or if it's just the basic propaganda of, oh my God, they're doing this to our children, send me money so I can protect your children from the scary people of whatever flavor.
Why do people genuinely believe the earth is flat? Some of it's just plain old ignorance, but I think for some people, if you're in that subculture, you feel like you are right about something everyone else doesn't get. And for once in your life, you think you're the smart one. And I think that's the case for this stuff. If you talk about who's most anti-trans, it's these right-wing assholes who are just never the smart people.
Hammett does have a point with that whole feeling of special knowledge. But in a way, Flat Earth actually is really related, because both Flat Earth and transphobia ultimately stem from a literal belief in the Bible. when I can drill down far enough, when I have a long enough conversation, it inevitably boils down to a literal understanding of the Bible. And it's the same bullshit with transphobes. If you cook them far enough at the very bottom, when all the bullshit has been distilled out and all that's left is the slimy grit at the very bottom of the distillery, it's, well, Genesis 1 said that they were created male and female.
Yes. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I do think, as much as it's just that little thing right there, you know, that's part of the creation myth.
I've engaged with so many people who are like transphobe-ish, but not fully committed to the ideology. And as you talk to them, you're like, I see where your fundamental misunderstanding is. You have this base level core presupposition that there is only male and female, because they just can't wrap their minds around the idea that a person can be born male and not be a man. Like,
Right.
yes, trans women are not biologically identical to cis women, but they're not biologically identical to cis men either.
Exactly.
And the same thing with trans men and non-binary people and
100%.
intersex people. And like, there's so
100%.
much. The reason they can't wrap their mind around it is because they have, at that, 4 years old, first time in a church level of understanding, there are only two options. That's the unbreakable presupposition, and it's from fucking Genesis.
100%.
I think it's also a piece of this is it's about gender and sex. Being trans, being intersex, being in that shadow netherworld is something that is so far out of most people's experience that they can't wrap their minds around. A lot of people just can't wrap their minds around that. So they deny that it exists. From my perspective as a very binary identified trans woman, I found it very, very difficult to understand the notion of a non-binary gender identification for the longest time. I couldn't quite wrap my head around it. People get stuck in and often afraid of what they can't understand.
Because a huge part of the fight right now is about trans people, and a huge part of that fight is about trans women or women, trans men or men. And I will say this on the sports thing, which is, again, we got to take it back to a basic human rights issue, but this is one of the opportunities we have to see trans children thrive. It's just, you got to recognize who's vulnerable, who's going through a lot at the time. And part of the way you deal with that is giving them every outlet possible to just be themselves and have fun and be a kid. That to me is even a number one priority, even over concerns of advantage and stuff like that. Because when you know what it's like to be going through a lot in life, the only response to somebody who's going through a lot is let the kid play. All them other conversations are secondary.
Principle 4 of the Atlantic Charter is sport is a human right.
Absolutely.
That's very short.
Ember, I know you really wanted to talk about these fake doctors as well, so I'll let you maybe give any closing thoughts or anything you want to put on people's minds as we head out.
Yeah, we've covered most of the bases over the course of this. The quick takeaway recap kind of thing is they're impersonating the real medical organization. Even though they're incompetent, they're doing a good enough job that the dumb journalists, that the people with no critical thinking skills, the people who do have critical thinking skills but don't use them on their own ideology, Michael Shermer, they never check. They never find out. Even if they're aware of this trick, because the right uses it over and over and over, even knowing that they do this, it doesn't seem to dawn on people when there's ideological agreement, that confirmation bias, that echo chamber, that maybe that's not the most reliable source. And so we all have to be cognizant of the fact that we're vulnerable to being tricked too. but also the people we're arguing with on these fundamental issues of human fucking rights, they don't know what they're talking about because they're getting misinformation that's handed to them deliberately as misinformation. They've been lied to, and they don't know it and don't care.
Fantastic. Y'all, that's it. We're going to get up out of here on that. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. I really, really do appreciate it. Please like the video. Leave us a comment if you're watching later. Subscribe to the channels. There are links in the description. Thank y'all so much for doing this. Happy Pride Month, everybody. And if you want, come hang out and gather. There's a link in the description for that as well.